Hi friends, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel. Now in this video we will see about the store actions and the reducers. So up to now we have seen what is NGRX and how the Redux pattern will be implemented, right? So now we will try to see what exactly the store actions and the reducers, how it will look like. We'll try to see in this video. We have already seen that the NGRX state management or the Redux pattern mainly depends on the three principles, that is nothing but the store, nothing but the state, actions and the reducers. First one is the store. What is the store? Store is the state data. Here if you try to see here, it is literally something like a JavaScript object only. If you look here, it will look same like a JavaScript object. Something like what you can think is, it is like a database. Okay. Now what is the object you will be able to see here? You are having some user data and also you are having some the post data. Okay, so here user data, you will be having the email token. This is the data what it is trying to store, and the post data, it is having the list of all the posts. So this total comprise of the state. Okay, now here this one we can say, as we already discussed, that each application will have only the one state data. Here you are having only one state data, but the post data, user, and these are all the chunks. Okay, these are all the features. So each one, if you in your application tomorrow, if you have any categories, you can keep categories and you will be having an array of object like this. So this is how we will be maintaining the state. So you can simply remember that store or state is nothing but it is a set of JavaScript object, so which consists of all the data which is responsible, which is useful for your application. So which is useful for your application, you will keep that entire data in a state, so that whichever the component is necessary, that data will be used by that component. It can be sent to that all the components. Okay, now you may get a doubt that do we need to put everything in the store? So what type of data we need to keep and what type of data we should not keep? So now what is the data, what type of data we should not keep in the store is unshared state. First one, unshared state means nothing but what I can say is, if your component has some data, for example, if you are having in your component some x is equal to 1. So variable x is equal to 1, that data is confined to only to that component. So that x variable and x data is responsible for the only to that component. It is that x variable is not responsible for sending to the other component. So if there is no need to send it to the other component, if it is only confined to that component, there is no need to keep that data in the store, in the state management. So we can keep that one in only the component. Okay, so that is the thing. So whichever the data, it is not shared between the components, so it is only confined to that component, means there is no need to keep it in the store. And another one is the Angular forms. For example, you are adding a form is there, post, for example, let's think post, you are adding post title, description, all those things you are adding it, that form data, that Angular form data, there is no need to keep it in the state. Why? Because the form data, it will be not serious, it is not immutable. Why? Because if you are typing anything, automatically it will be changed. So this conflicts with the state management principle, and that is the reason we should not keep the form data. When the form is submitted, you can take the data and you can submit to that submit an action, dispatch an action to the state, so that the state will store the data. But directly Angular form you cannot keep it in the state. And another one, what is it? The router data. So for example, you are having any router data or anything, so router state also, there is no need to keep it in the router state data also, there is no need to keep. Why? Because router state data has some complex data structure, so that is the reason we cannot keep the router state also in the state management. Why? Because it is having the complex data structure that will be not be serializable. So these type of data we should not keep it in the store, so we can keep it in the component itself. Next, this is the state. So this is how the state will look like in the NGRX. Okay, now next comes to the action. What is an action? So if you see here, action, this is the actions. What is this action? As we already have discussed, that any event performed in the component, for example, if any click event performed or anything, so when the form is submitted, some event is performed. So when the event is performed, you can dispatch an action for this one. So if any event performed in the component, if you want to change any data regarding to that event in the state, so you need to contact through an action. You need to send an action. For example, here if you are able to see that somebody submitted the login form, so that means you need to dispatch an action that email and password has been submitted, do some necessary thing. So here the action, how it will be is something like the type of name. So you will be having, for each action you will be having some fixed constant name we will be having. Okay, each action should be different, unique. So that action name should be unique. Why? Because the action should be different. So same actions, action name should not be same. And here type is the login. So this is the type of what is the type of action. And here if you want to send some data to that action, you can send the data, or otherwise you cannot send. There is no need to send the data. So if you want to send some data, user, you can keep whatever the name you want, you can keep, and you can send the list of data. Okay, so this is the type of action. So you will be having all the actions in the actions file. You will be having separate actions file. In that actions file you will be sending this data. Okay, so this is the actions how will be defined. So I can say that what are the types of actions will be having. Login action, when a login data is submitted or anything, or toggling side menu. So when the user clicks on the side menu, so slider will come, right? Side menu, you can keep that one in the state. And retrieving data, when the component is first time initialized, you want to get some data from the database or anything, so that is also one type of action. Global spinner, so if you are getting some data from the backend, you need to show the spinner and hide the spinner, so that is also one type of action. So show the spinner is an action, hide the spinner is an action. Okay, so these are all the actions you will be having. Okay, so now let's go to the another concept, reducers. So this is the reducer. So what the reducers will do, when you dispatch an action, that action you need to perform some data. Okay, so here you can see that show loading is nothing but the action name. Here you are having login, right? So this is the login, right? The same name you will be having here. So this show loading name is nothing but, here you can see login action is there, right? So you can see the name of this one, something like show loading. Okay, here you can think of, here you will be writing login action or show loading. Okay, here initial state is nothing but the state. What is the first you have seen, the state is there, right? So this is the state. So now the reducer will take the state, and here the action name, if on particular action name, and it will take the old state. Okay, and the action. So in this action you will be having the data. If you are passing any data, something like user, so it will be having inside this one like action dot user. Here you will be able to see action dot loading. That the same scenario you will be having here return. So here the state, as I already told you, that we should not modify the state. So for example, if you are having the state as user and post, the state should be like this only. You cannot remove this user completely, or you cannot remove this post term completely directly. You can add some post extra or delete some post, but you cannot delete this post data directly. So here what we are doing, for the safety case, first we are copying entire state here. So that means user post, everything we are copying, and if you want to modify anything, here you can modify. Okay, so loading we are modifying, and also the loading text also we are modifying. So this is the way we will be changing. And also if you want to set, this is another action, set error message. If you want to set any error message, it takes the old state, and also it takes the action, whatever particular action, and it will first copy the old state and changes the keys, whatever the keys necessary you will be giving. So in this way the entire state is the immutable thing. So this reducer, what we can say is, reducers are the pure functions. Okay, these are the pure functions. What is this pure function? Pure function is nothing but, in a function given the same arguments, okay, it has the same arguments, always returns the same value. Okay, so always returns the same value. This is a pure function. So that is nothing but the pure function. Okay, so this reducer is always a pure function. So now we have seen the store actions and the reducer. Store is nothing but the state, JavaScript object. Action is nothing but the type of action what we will be going to perform. So depending on this action you will be having the reducer. So reducer will do the necessary updating the state. Okay, so this is the main principle of the Redux pattern. So the state management pattern also like this only we will be implementing. So this is the store, action and reducer. You need to understand the basic things between the store, action and reducer, the linkage between these three things. If you understand the linkage between these three things, when we are implementing the coding, you will be able to understand. So we will be having some complex structure and all those things, right? Then you will be able to understand. You need to understand the state, action and reducer, how are related to each other. Okay, so now we can see what is the advantage of this type of pattern. So we have seen the state, action and reducer, right? So what is the advantage of this pattern? First one is we will be having data at the centralized place. We will be having all the data related to that application in a centralized place. This is one thing. And also immutable state. Immutable state means which cannot be changed. Changed means, so for example, here if you have seen the post means, you can rely that post data will be there all the time. If the key will be present. So if it present null or empty, or that is another thing. The post key will be present. So if you want to add the data, you can add it. So you can, it's an immutable state. And another one is the performance. So performance thing, when we discuss with the Angular best practices architectural thing, we'll be able to understand this one. Performance thing, it will be implementing change detection strategy on push. What is the change detection strategy is? So if you are able to understand, by default Angular will be having change detection strategy as default. What is the default means? For example, in any component, if a variable is changed, immediately the corresponding components, child components, whatever the child component it is having under this components, every components will run the ng do check or ng checking it will run. So that means if anything I need to update in this template or anything, for in one component one variable has changed, so do I need to update anything in this component, it will automatically trigger all the components related to that one. So that means this affects the performance cost. Why? Because if any variable is changed means, if you are having so many components means, all the components once again it will check that if I need to update anything variable, or do I need to do any some particular action, it will check. So this change detection strategy is the default in this one. By using the state management, we can change this one into the change detection strategy on push. So we can change this one. This performance can be increased more. And another one is the testability. As the reducers are the pure functions, so testability also will be very easy. And another one is the tooling. So NGRX has a wonderful tooling. We will see in the coming videos NGRX store dev tools. So in that tooling you will be able to understand if anything goes wrong in your state. So if anything is not updating in the state means, you will have a wonderful tooling so that you can check where the state has gone wrong, why it is not updating. You will be able to understand the tooling. You can go forward, you can move forward, backward, you can check all the things in the tooling. We will check about this tooling also. And another thing is the component communication. So the component communication will become very easy using this NGRX state management. So these are the advantages of the Redux pattern. Okay, hope you understood everything about this store, state, actions and reducers. So in the next video we will start with the sample application. We will see the basic application implementing all the state, actions and reducers with a simple basic example. Okay, if you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. And if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.